And welcome to this week's Writer's Block with me, Sarah Banham, on SaintFM and on Con Radio. Let's start this off tonight with Brown Eyed Girl from Van Morrison. Here we go. Brown Eyed Girl from Van Morrison, Brown Eyed Girl. Now, the reason I've got that on this evening is because on Writer's Block I have a guest tonight who has actually got brown eyes. So after the next track, I shall introduce you to her, and it's going to be quite a fun interview, I think, tonight, quite a fun chat, because Writer's Block does tend to seek out the funnest people, and by golly, have we done that tonight. Welcome to Writer's Block, my guest this evening, children's author Emma McNally.
Hello.
It's so lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Yes, it absolutely is. Yes. No, we've been having such a giggle off air. It's been, I feel almost like we've done the whole interview before we've even come on air. So, we've really got into it. So, okay, children's author Emma McNally. Tell us about your background and what brought you to this point, and then we'll get going with it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of writing, I actually had the idea for my first book when I was a child. So, I was only about 7 or 8, and I used to make tiny little books and just write and illustrate and, the whole sort of kid thing. And I guess I've never really grown out of it, to be fair. So, I went off and had a corporate career. So, I had a 25-year corporate career, and then 3 years ago, I decided now's the time to follow my dreams. So I'd already sent the books around to publishers, and it was a New Year's resolution actually about 5 years ago. Go on, do it. So that's where it all started, I guess, and just revisited the first story, and now I've got actually 14 books out. So it's really absolutely flown. But as I say, I've written since I was 8, and I think it's in you, isn't it, as a writer, if it's something that you love.
I guess so. Well, I truly believe if it's in you, it's going to come out somewhere. Certainly the creativity aspect of it. But I love the fact that it was a New Year's resolution, because so often on Writer's Block we get to November, December time and start thinking, okay, this is the time that we're going to start thinking about it, and then you do, and then right up to the end of the year you think, I know what I'm going to do, I'm totally on top of this, and then you get to February and you think, what was it, what was I going to do? So absolutely. The fact that you had the idea and you went through with it, and you're at the other end of it and still going.
Absolutely. And it was just one book to start with, so it was New Year's resolution, just get the one book published, one book out there. But when I was speaking to publishers, they were like, actually we want a series rather than just one, and that sort of thought, oh, actually, maybe I have something here. And then it went from just chapter books into rhyming picture books. And as I say, it just developed on and on from there. And I'm loving it. It's
excellent. Well, you can
best thing ever.
You can tell by your face that you are loving it. You've got such a glowing smile, and it's not just because of the heat today. We are absolutely glowing here. So why children's? What is it about this particular? I mean, you was obviously 8 when you came up with the idea, but you're an adult now. Why? Well, mostly. Why? Why children's?
Why children's? I think actually it's because I probably haven't grown up. I think that's exactly why. So I think for me, my mind works as if I was still a child in that creative sphere.
Okay.
So I also run a training company where I'm quite serious and grown up, obviously. But in terms of the creativity, I just seem to, 8 is probably the top level in terms of ideas. So I've got nieces and nephews, and they're always saying, oh, when are you going to write for our age group? When are you going to write for like the teens and the next level? And I just think I need to grow up a bit before I do that.
So that is literally about growing up first.
Yeah.
I would say to you, though, that if you can avoid growing up, don't.
It may be best.
Because, there's a lot to be said for keeping that imagination and the energy, actually.
Yes.
Because, once you get to be grown up, it's sort of all downhill from there, really, isn't it? Okay, you're listening to me, Sarah Banham, on SaintFM and on Con Radio on Writer's Block this week, and my guest is children's author Emma McNally. You were introduced to me from the delightful Sue Cook, who's been on several times.
Yeah.
So if you are listening, Sue, do get in touch. It'd be great for you to join in the chat this evening. So, Emma, talk to me about with children's writing. Obviously, I write a lot of adult fiction, and it's very well known that children's writing does tend to be a little bit more difficult because you're not to patronise children. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so they say to write children's books, you've either got to have children yourself or you've got to think like a child. So I'm the latter in terms of thinking like a child.
Okay.
And that's when I say about having not grown up in that particular part of my mind, I'm still thinking as if I was a child. So I think that's absolutely critical when you write, because you don't want to patronise children, you don't want to talk down to them, and actually if they can sort of see it through their eyes, as if the story is playing out as something that they would have written and they would have been involved in, and they can sort of empathise, as it were, with the story and the characters.
Okay.
I think that's absolutely critical. So I've got a very, very good editor. So Joe, if you're listening, thank you, because I think that's really important as well, is when you write for any genre, but especially for kids, you've got to be having that other critical eye, somebody else looking at it, and also testing it out with children.
Yeah.
You know, their feedback is always the most honest, and you know, if you need to make changes, then obviously take that feedback on board so that you can.
Do you know what? That is interesting you saying that, because one of the books that I've written recently is non-fiction, and somebody who I met offered to give it a look over.
Okay.
And I didn't know them particularly well, and I thought, well, okay, well, you know, what's the worst that can happen?
Yes.
They'll just, you know, kill my heart, and I'll just cry in a corner forever. But you know, what's the worst that can happen? Turns out this person's very, very good, and the feedback I got was excellent.
Amazing.
So helpful.
Yes.
And packaged in a way that none of it hurt, and
Yes.
it's all very helpful.
It's all helpful.
And you know, it's very difficult when you receive criticism, isn't it? How do you generally work out with that?
Yeah, so you have to take it as if I don't know. You almost have to sort of step away from it and not take it personally, and you have to think, actually, they've got the best interests at heart
For the book, yeah.
for the book and for the audience and for the readers. So I weigh it up and think, actually, does that resonate? And is, you know, get other feedback as well. So not just one person, because obviously it is subjective. All books are subjective. You know, people sort of either love it or hate it, or maybe in between, you know. And so I just try and gather a number of different angles. And then if it does resonate, then make that change. But there's also an element of not changing it too much and losing the essence of what you were trying to put
Absolutely,
across.
yeah.
Because if you lose the heart of the story and lose your passion within it, then I think that obviously defeats the object of writing something you love. So when
It's so difficult, isn't it?
it is, and what you want is your voice coming out in the story, in that when children read the books and other people read the books, they can hear you. So people that I've had that feedback, that they actually can hear my voice and my enthusiasm around the story as they read it, and I think, right, that's how I know I've got the right pitch. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, brilliant, excellent.
So yeah.
How did Harold Huxley come about?
Huxley.
How was he born?
Oh, bless him. So this was years ago. We bought this doorstop, and it happened to be, you know, a hedgehog. So for people obviously who aren't familiar with Harold Huxley, he is an adventuring house hog. So he's part of the hedgehog family, but he lives in a house with his best friend Lamb and goes on these adventures. So I had this doorstop, and my granddad was called Harold, so I named this doorstop Harold, and it just went from there. And obviously the story, then I was thinking about the characters, and it sort of all just fitted in. So yes.
Oh wow.
In my mind anyway.
Yeah. What has your granddad?
His past, but
Right.
yeah,
So had he ever? Oh, so he hadn't known about the
he
books.
didn't know about the books.
Oh,
so,
wow, that's exciting.
So, yeah,
Oh.
so it's just sort of a bit of a family legacy, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it would
for
be.
something. Yeah.
And also, you've chosen so many different colours for all of the books. I mean, you know, Emma's been very pleasant here. She's brought along a copy of every single one, I think.
Yeah.
It's like she's sitting in front of a library. And, you know, all of these books are so brightly, beautifully coloured. And, you know, I've always gone on about the covers of books. It's so important because they've got to be eye-catching. They've also got to be genre appropriate and also appropriate, you know, in our climate as well. It's such a, you know, a tricky hit and miss affair, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've deliberately gone really colourful. And my chapter books, so they're for children from 5 to 8, have still got coloured pictures on every single page.
Right.
So what I'm all about is helping children in that transition from being read to being able to read on their own.
Right.
And to help them with that, I have very short chapters. The text, the font is quite large. There's enough room for their finger underneath the words as they go through, and you've got the colour picture to help in terms of imagination, but they're the size of a normal chapter book.
Brilliant.
So that really helps with the colour and that whole package to actually make it an easier transition for them, so that they have the confidence of, yes, I've read a chapter, but it's only a couple of pages long, but it's still a chapter that you've read tonight, before you go to bed. So that's why it's deliberate. It's absolutely deliberate in terms of making it as user-friendly for that child as possible.
So the illustrations, how did that come about?
So that was really funny. So I just did some sketches of what I thought the character could look like, because he looks like a hedgehog, but he's got these pink sort of spiky hair, as you do, clearly. And so I just did some illustrations to send off to a publisher just to show what it could look like. And when they came back and was talking about it, they said, so who did your illustrations? I said, oh, I did, and it was literally just to illustrate what I was, funnily enough. And they were like, we love it. And the way that, again, I draw is so that children can easily copy it. It's not complex. It's not sort of done, on a digital sort of format. I'm quite old-fashioned in the way that I draw. I'm now using a digital tablet more, which is, step on from, colouring pencils. But it's still that sort of almost a naive style.
Right.
So then, again, the children are actually engaging in it and thinking, oh, this is something within my reach. Because that's something else I'm absolutely passionate about, is helping children to develop a love of reading and writing themselves. So when I do book signing, I have budding authors come and chat, and I give them my card and say, yeah, let me know how you get on, and and they can see that actually they could do that as well.
Oh,
they
brilliant.
could do it too. So yeah.
My guest this evening is children's author Emma McNally, and I have rehearsed that several times because I'm so sure I'm going to get your name wrong. Haven't yet, but there's still time. So the book festival, the Essex Book Festival, I've been involved with it for several years, and they've several members of the board have been on the radio show several times as well. So, we've got a relatively reasonable relationship. Oh, very alliterative there. So how did your internship?
Internship, yes.
How did that come about?
It was amazing. So just connecting, because obviously I live in Essex, and I went and I did my sock monstrate. My favourite sock was the story that I worked with the group. I have the characters that I take with me. So a really big sock monster that my mum knitted for me, bless her. So and it was just the most amazing experience. We had kids and their parents all up doing the actions, and we just had an absolute blast. It was so much fun.
And I dare say coloured socks as well. Everything was bright and cheerful. Yeah,
of course.
I'm guessing. Actually, I do recall seeing your picture in the brochure. I do recall that. Yeah.
And me with the sock monster.
Yeah, I do. Also, you mentioned to me off air that you've recently done another signing at Waterstones. So how did that go?
Oh, it was so good. So we launched the next 2 books in the Howard Huxley series. So an early reader chapter book and a rhyming picture book. And we had the characters all in the window. We had treasure hunts throughout the store. It was just an absolute blast. It was so much fun.
I presume that's in the children's section.
Yes, in the children's section.
Of course.
Yes. So we had the Christmas window, and that was the big main window for. So as I say, I have my characters. I have Darcy, the magical snowman, who I call a full-size snowman, whatever that might be. And we had a sleigh, and we had Harold and Lamb, and this time we had the Puffin Pirates. So we've got Captain Scumborn who's standing there with his wooden leg and everything. So yes, it was all good fun.
So all of these characters, do you physically make them to be in these displays as well then?
I do, yes. And so when I go around to schools as well, I take the characters with me. So when we do creative writing and workshops, then they can actually see the characters, they can pick them up, they can feel them, and then obviously, or the way I work is they can then write stories around them. So they do fact files on them and all sorts of things. So so I have them almost as tools, I guess.
Yeah.
I've got Flying Dragon, I've got Cloudosaurus Rex, as you do. So yes, we have the whole lot. So you can imagine what my house looks like,
I
can't
can
you?
imagine, actually, yeah. Where do you keep them? Do they have a special box?
The loft.
In the loft, okay.
Because they tend to be quite big.
Right.
Because they always start in my imagination quite small, and then, you know, as I say, Darcy's over 4 foot, so...
This is the snowman.
The snowman, yes.
Right.
So you can imagine, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. So you must be very creative, you know, in a craft sense as well.
Yes, I always have been. I've always... Knitting isn't my thing. My mum does the knitting, but all the sewing and that side of things, I make hats, I do all sorts of things like that. So yes, so I love being creative in every sense.
Yeah, brilliant.
So, yeah.
I am too. So if you're not writing, then you're doing something with your hands, still creating. You've still got a result at the end, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's the essence of it. Even with writing, you're creating characters. And to get something at the end of it, you can look at, you know, the paragraph or the even the sentence, but the chapter, and look back and say, I've achieved something.
Yes.
And that's kind of the main thing, isn't it? Because you've got something to show for the time you've put in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You said, I was just trying to grab hold of a couple of notes that you were saying earlier, and I haven't managed to write them down. But let's see, because my memory is obviously fantastically good, that I can just grab hold of things. But you mentioned earlier about all these different characters from your books, and they're obviously, you know, kept in their own room at home. Yeah. Not in the loft at all. They have their own room.
Of course not. Sorry.
Yeah.
If there's children listening, they're all safe. It's okay.
Yes, yeah. They're of course children listening. They have their own room. But no, I'm just thinking, because you know, you're only going with the idea in your mind. So, you know, we have to create everything from scratch.
Yes.
So you have in your mind, you know, you're going to have to think logistically,
Yes.
and, you know, engineer some sort of model.
Absolutely. So the Flying Dragon was the most tricky. But again, I have a real vivid imagination.
Okay.
So I can absolutely visualise exactly what it's going to look like, and then I obviously have no pattern or anything, and just make it, and just literally buy some fabric, and then I'm stuffing it and changing it, and you know, I mean, it's got wings, it's got my husband thankfully is an engineer, because I needed a hand with that one in terms of like the struts that sort of hold his wings out and all of this sort of thing, but I do all of the sewing and everything that goes around it.
My goodness me.
Yes. It's one of those things that if you ask me to sit down and tell you how to do it, I'm not sure that I could do that.
No.
But it just sort of comes about.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe, I mean, possibly you have in your collection here instructions on how to make their own characters, possibly.
Yeah, so in terms of future, that's what I would love. I would like to have, I know Waterstones keep telling me, when are you going to make a sock monster? When can we actually sell sock monsters with your book? So that's the next thing really, is to actually get the patterns
merchandise.
Made. And so I might do a crowdfunding project or something to actually get the individual characters that I can sell, but also flashcards, and I'm looking to create an educational package, because a friend of mine's a year 1 teacher, and she used the magical Beeley bugs in English, for PE, for dance, for music, because there's a song in there, and for the phonics and the rhyming, so actually developing that further to really help teachers, you know, as an education package for the children.
Wow.
So that's the long-term plan.
Yeah, but that's what you're doing next week, isn't it? This week is
well, this evening, you know.
Before you go to bed, of course. Emma McNally, children's author, is my guest this evening. We are rapidly running out of interview time, but let's go with a couple more questions before you run out of the door. You do obviously run other businesses as well, so tell me about those.
Yes, so I run a training and consultancy company. So it's called Achieve Your Greatness, and I help people to achieve their greatness.
What a surprise.
So so it fits quite nicely, but I absolutely love it. So it's all about neuro-linguistic programming, which is the Haynes manual of your mind, so understanding performance psychology and how to become the person you want to be. So I love that, and that gives me the sort of people side that I need alongside the creativity of writing. So the two hand in hand is just perfect job.
Absolutely.
You've the best.
You really have got everything sorted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Incredible,
I
hey?
really don't like you anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So how can people get in touch with that? Should they want to look at that a bit more?
Again, it's website, Facebook page, and it's called achieveyourgreatness.co.uk. So
right.
and you can just contact me, and I run private courses in Chelmsford, so tasters and introductions to NLP right the way through to practitioners. So if you want to have a qualification in it, then I'm happy to help you. So yeah.
Excellent stuff. So back to the writing side of everything. What's your web details of that one?
Yes, so it's haroldhuxley.co.uk. And on there you've got loads of free stuff. So I do lots of free stuff for kids. So you can download pictures from the books that you can colour in. We've got word searches, we've got a Beeley bug game. So yeah, lots of bits and pieces. You obviously can buy the books as well. So you can either buy them directly from me and I'll do signed copies for you. Or you can get them on Amazon or ordered through any bookshop, and they're all on the shelves at Chelmsford, Waterstones, but anywhere worldwide you can get them. Just order them through a bookshop. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's been lovely having you on the show. We have still got another track to go before you technically leave us, but it's been lovely having you on the show tonight. And more than anything else, I think your energy and your upbeatness, your positivity just shines through. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. It's just been so much fun. So thank you,
well,
and thank you everyone for listening.
When you add to your library there,
Yes.
Please do come back,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we'll have another look at that.
I'm working on a new one at the moment as well, obviously.
Obviously, of course, obviously.